Sad news today for fans of the Carolina Blue. Longtime voice of the Tar Heels, Woody Durham, passed away at the age of 76.
Long outside shot, short rebounded. May, it's over. Carolina has won the national championship.
He spent 4 decades calling action for the Heels, a tenure that included 23 bowl games, 13 Final Fours, and 4 national championships. NBC Charlotte's Rob Hughes caught up with the radio voice of the Carolina Panthers, Mick Mixon, who spent more than a decade next to Durham in the broadcast booth. And Rob, what did he have to say?
Well, Rachel, the stories are endless, as Mixon says, enough to fill a medium-sized book. Now, Mixon spent 16 years in the broadcast booth calling Carolina games alongside Durham. He describes him as the ultimate in preparation, a guy who took his craft as seriously as anyone who's ever called a game.
2-1, Walter takes the shot. The game is unbelievable!
Woody's voice,
Shot clock down to 7.
was the rhythm of the soundtrack of my life, a lot like a ton of other kids who grew up with ACC basketball.
Durham grew up a Tar Heel fan himself and graduated from Chapel Hill in 1963. 8 years later, he became the play-by-play announcer for the Heels when radio was the only way to catch all of the action. He held the mic until retirement in 2011.
I hope the Tar Heel listeners didn't listen or didn't notice, but there were too many times during various broadcasts when I wasn't pleased with my level of presentation.
At the time, Durham did not know that his slip in performance was probably an early sign of aphasia, a degenerative brain disorder that robbed him of his exceptional ability to communicate and eventually his life. Regardless, Carolina fans will always remember his legendary calls of some of college basketball's most memorable games.
In the Final Fours, the national championships, the party's ready to begin on Franklin Street, the Chris Webber timeout.
He takes the timeout. They're out of timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
A pro's pro and a Tar Heel through and through. Durham leaves a legacy right up there with the historic coaches and players he covered.
Woody, I think, is as an important part of the history, not just of the University of North Carolina, but as our state, as a Dean Smith, a Jim Valvano, a Mike Krzyzewski.
How about them Heels? They are the national champions.
Now, Mixon also shared this story with me earlier today where Durham and Richard Petty were actually filming a TV commercial together. A car pulls up, a woman leans over to her husband and says, "Who is that guy filming that TV commercial with Woody Durham?" The man responds by saying, "I don't know, but that's definitely Woody." So not even the king carrying the same clout as Woody Durham in Chapel Hill. Live in Charlotte, Rob Hughes, NBC Charlotte.